Today's blue light hotspot is Mongolia. And there is some really potent energy going on there right now that seems to be almost palpable no matter where you are in the world. Now, I just recently did a blue light hotspot on Peru, and the light there was like the sun. And if you haven't watched that blue light hotspot on Peru, I talked about how it was so bright that even with my eyes closed while I was meditating, I felt like I needed to put sunglasses on. But in Mongolia, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of blue light beings here. So I'm going to jump right in and share with you what I am picking up. And for all the intuitive archaeologists out there, there is so much information about Mongolia that I had no idea about. And I know even after this video, I'm going to really look forward to doing a little bit deeper dive and research on this. So I hope to read in your comment sections the different things that you have found as well. So if you are new to my YouTube channel, my name's Nancy Rebecca. I am a psychic clairvoyant. I'm also a retired registered nurse, and I talk about anything and everything that influences your personal human energy field, whether it's from solar flares to blue light, star beings, to earthly shifts and earthquakes, to inner turmoil of what kind of brings you down, whether it's depression or anxiety. So anything that impacts the human energy field, I'm going to talk about it. So if you're new, you might want to go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you can be notified every time I put out a new video. So the first thing that I always opt to do is to go into meditation and to tune into the country that the blue light star beings have indicated is the next place to kind of shine a light on and bring some attention to. So I have a room in my house that is just my meditation room. And so I was in there. I had already been given the information that it was going to be about Mongolia. So I am sitting in meditation, and suddenly I sensed an enormous owl, spiritual owl, fly into the room. Now, it's not a huge room, but it is about 10 by 10 feet, so it's big enough. But it was like this owl's wingspan reached from one wall to the other. It was enormous. And I'm sitting on the floor meditating, and it flies in, and then it just kind of sits next to me with its wings next to its body. And so I sat there for a moment, and I wasn't quite sure if the owl was there for me or if it had to do with Mongolia. So I have since found out it is a very strong, strong totem. It has a lot of spiritual significance. And after that, the owl came up a couple of more times. And then in conversations, somebody wrote to say they've been having a lot of owl visitations, spiritual visitations. They've had a lot of impressions of owls. So it was like, all right, this definitely has to do with Mongolia. So what came up around the owl is that it represents the Mongolians believe in their shamanism that the owl is a divine ancestor. So they do view it as one of their ancestors that is going to help guide them in life. The owl is also known as the Great Protector, and it is also known as the Great Protector against evil. And so when I was tuned in to Mongolia, there were a lot of owls that were flying around at this time, and I can sense them kind of coming from Mongolia. They seem to be flying out into the world, and then they seem to come back. So I was really witnessing them as messengers, but they are enormously large owls. So the Great Protector and the Great Protector against evil. Now, in Mongolia, their largest belief system is Buddhism. It is Tibetan Buddhism, and it is the aspects of Buddhism that also has that combined lineage with shamanism. Now, the actual word shamanism does come from Mongolia. That is the original place that it is known. And then somehow that word has kind of spread throughout the world that would indicate medicine person. But all different cultures around the world have different names for a medicine person. So often if you're going to ask someone if they are a shaman and they are not of the Mongolian culture, then it's going to cause quite a bit of confusion. And they'll often say they don't want to be called a shaman. They are not a shaman in that way. So in Mongolia, that is where the word shaman comes from. So their highest kind of spiritual practice is that Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism. The second highest practice is pure shamanism. And in that pure shamanistic state, they really connect a lot with animals. The bear is another big known spirit animal that they really tune into. And so we do know that they have strong connections also to the rocks. A lot of their sacred places in Mongolia have to do with stones, also has to do with trees, also has to do with some underground connections. The other thing that I could see in using my clairvoyant eyes was this enormous blue grid. Now, I am very aware that we have a blue grid that goes around the earth, and I know that there's a lot of you out there that are constantly doing repairs if the grid needs to be repaired. But I'm curious to know if any of you are noticing that the blue grid is actually getting stronger. It's getting thicker, it's getting stronger, it has a more solid connection where those lines cross. But the difference here is it almost looks like this blue grid is coming out from underneath the earth in Mongolia, and it is spreading out throughout the world. I do see a lot of blue star beings around the grid. And I do want to say here, like, I'm very connected to the Syrians, and they are blue light beings, but there are a lot of star beings that choose to work with this color blue, and it's very similar to the shirt that I have on. So I'm seeing this blue earth grid. It seems it's almost palpable. It's sending a lot of blue light around the grid. There's also a tone, a very deep tone. I know this from watching different shows on Mongolia about this deep throat type tone. I am sensing and hearing and feeling the vibration and the frequency of that, but I'm also can feel the frequency even if I can't hear the tone. So the tone seems to be very deep in the earth, but again, it's that very throat singing, guttural type toning that goes along the blue grid. I am seeing deep blue earth energy as well. Again, it seems to be emanating from the country of Mongolia. So I said toning, and then there are blue light codes that are coming to the earth. They seem to be really focused right now on that area of Mongolia. Now, I am very aware that Tibet is in that area. I'm also very aware that China, Mongolia used to be a really large part of the land over there. It's much smaller now, and now we have part of it is in China. So there's a lot of sacred places around Mongolia, but the star beings do not notice boundaries or borders. Like, it's not like, oh no, we can only send light codes to Mongolia. We can't send it to China or Tibet, and it's like, it's just not like that. It's wherever the energy is most needed. And right now in that area, it's not that it's most needed there, but it seems to be building this blue grid, and these blue light codes are being picked up by the toning, and these blue light codes are being sent along the earth. So these blue light codes are coming from the stars, and they are coming down to the earth, and then they're being kind of this chanting through this blue grid. Now, this blue grid is going to be really picking up speed over the next 3 months. So if you are seeing this blue grid with your eyes open or your eyes closed, I remember once standing in my kitchen and I just turned to look out the window and all I could see was this blue grid. That was back in 1998. I've only seen it one other time since then, but I most certainly haven't seen it probably in the last 6 years. So, but they are strengthening. It is strengthening the blue grid. The other thing is that I noticed is that the second chakra of humanity is getting highly activated. Now, I've talked to a lot of you in the past few weeks. You're being deeply emotional, or there's a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions are coming up, and they're actually beautiful emotions that are being expressed. And it's almost like they're beautiful blue emotions that are being expressed. So I am hearing from people that are saying, wow, are the tears going to stop? I'm not a deeply emotional person, but I most certainly can experience the depth of this blue frequency in my second chakra. So this is being sent out. Not all of humanity is experiencing it yet, but I am getting this whole next 3 months is really going to be palpable around the world. Also the bottom of the feet. So it's almost like you may be noticing blue hands and the bottoms of the feet are blue. Now, I found this very fascinating when I was tuned into Mongolia. Again, I know henna. I know when people have put henna on their hands and their feet, it's like that, but it's blue. And the information I'm getting from the blue beings of light is that many people in humanity are going to experience noticing blue hands and blue feet. Again, the two more owls were coming up, and it's about advice, receiving advice from a wise person. So if you are sensing owl medicine around, this can also, be an indicator you're being highly protected, but there is also a wise being that's going to come in and give you information, whether it's another human or another spiritual being. The blue people, that's what they called themselves. The blue people are shifting the inside of the earth, and it's almost like a chakra. So the way that I see a chakra is I'll see the chakra, like the heart chakra here, but then I'll see like a concentric rings. So it's like on the inside, it might go clockwise, then the next ring anti-clockwise, then the next one clockwise. So it's like this back and forth, but it's almost like a shifting of several rings of blue light. What did I write down about that? Shifting inside the earth, like rings of shifts, almost like a chakra that is enhancing the blue grid, enhancing, strengthening to help enhance great stability all the way up through mid-October. So again, that's again encompassing quite a few months. Now, what they are saying is that we are going through an enormous shift and change, and there seems to be a lot around politics. Now, I want you to know that I wrote all this information down several weeks ago, long before we've had some different political results coming up in the United States, which have people kind of a little wiggly. And so it was interesting that this is happening because the blue star beings were saying it's deepening, it's dissolving the greater illusions, and it's revealing truth. So it is highly activated right now to dissolve illusion, reveal truth. It's also about getting back to the heart of the matter. So if we feel like, especially here in the United States, that we may be a little disconnected from our heart, what the blue beings of light are saying right now in relationship to what's happening in Mongolia, that it's helping us to get back, all of humanity to get back to the heart of the matter, get back to being in our truth, and justice will be served. And I put in italics, this is big. There's some big justice shifts that are happening in the entire world. I happen to live in the United States. Sometimes I find it hard to believe, not that I live in the United States, but that justice is, the wheels of justice seem to be moving slowly. Let's just put it that way. But they said over the next few years, there is going to be a big overturn of world leaders. Now, this is the first time they have ever talked about anything like this. So I found that quite fascinating. That in the next few years, there's going to be a big overturn of some of the world leaders. Now, in Mongolia, they highly revere Genghis Khan. I think he lived in the 12th century. And in Mongolia, they have enormous statues. His burial mound is supposed to be there somewhere. No one knows exactly where it is. But they do see him as a god, that he was a god as a man here on earth. But the other thing that I thought was fascinating as I was looking that up is that Genghis Khan has 16 million male descendants. So they have done DNA tests, and they have found that he impregnated a lot of women. And so with that Y chromosome, 16 million men on the earth share that Y chromosome with Genghis Khan. Isn't that fascinating? There is a place that's called, now, for those of you who are big on pronunciation, I will let you know, I tried to find the pronunciation for this. I could not. So bear with me. Let me spell it for you. Let me say it for you first. Khamsrin Khiid. Khamsrin Khiid. It's in the Gobi Desert. So it's Khamrin, and the second word is Khiid. And so this is the name of the man who discovered this area that is considered to be the highest frequency, the most potent frequency in the world. So they built a temple right in the middle, which is a shamanistic Buddhist temple. And then they have 108, which is a sacred number in Buddhism, 108 smaller temples around it. Now, when communism invaded, they destroyed the main monastery or stupa, but it has been rebuilt again. But they do consider this area where it is the underworld that is connected to the upper world, to the stars that's connected to the underworld, and it has the highest potency frequency that is radiating and illuminating from that spot. And you can go visit it as a tourist, but it is in the Gobi Desert. And I think it's in the Gobi Desert on the Chinese, I think it's part of China now. Let's see, marks the strongest spiritual energy in the world. And there is the belief here that you go through this place to access Shambhala. So Shambhala is a dimensional spiritual reality on this earthly plane that is of a higher dimension. So according to the ancient beliefs, if you go to this place, you can have access to this highly advanced spiritual culture, just like Lemuria or Atlantis, but it's Shambhala, very spiritual, and that apparently the only place you can get to it is through this Gobi Desert area. So I've already talked about the Gobi Desert grid. There is a grid that they actually could see from outer space, but when I did a deep dive research, looks like it's man-made. They don't know if it's more of a recent man-made or an ancient man-made. Every time I went to look it up, they just kept saying it's man-made. So if anybody wants to do any research on that grid that can be seen from outer space that's in the Gobi Desert, that would be great if you want to add that. There's also the color blue. So in Mongolia, they highly revere the color blue. They believe that the color blue means eternity, faithfulness, and loyalty. So they highly revere the color blue. Now, get this. The Mongolians have an ancient history of cosmology. So again, just like they believe that the owl is one of their ancestors, they believe that the bear is one of their ancestors. They also believe that that some of the planets are their ancestors. So get this. So the planet Pluto, they call the Earth King in Mongolian. So their earthly king is the planet Pluto, and their sky king is Uranus. So those are two of the main planets that they connect with in their cosmology. And then the third is the Bear constellation, which is the Big Dipper. And they talk about how, just like in many of the ancient indigenous cultures where they will offer prayers and they will connect to the four directions, it could be north, south, east, west, but the four directions, and also the axis that goes to the underworld and to the upper world. Now, as I'm talking to you, it's almost like I can hear a heartbeat that's happening. I will tell you the owl, it's just like this owl is right behind me with its wings spread. I can hear the owl. It's very strong, so you may actually be able to feel this owl energy kind of coming through the video. And so they talk about how they will fly using that upper axis, that they will travel to the tops of trees as in a shamanistic way, and then they will travel on up to the Bear constellation that way, and then they will travel on up to the higher dimensional upper world. And then when they want to go down, they travel the axis down. They travel along a river until they get to a hole in the earth. It looks like it's in the Gobi Desert, and then they will travel to the underworld. So they have a very high population of shamans. It is, again, second under Buddhism. So as I wrap up, I just was remembering one of the other messages that was coming from the blue star beings. And again, they're always quick to remind me that there are many star beings that work with the color blue. So it's not just Syrians, but many beings. And the only other message that they gave was over the next several years, there's going to be an enormous connection to, sorry, you're hearing my grandfather clock in the background. So that we are moving as a society from everything is kind of centralized, everything is controlled by the government, everything is controlled by CEOs or what would you call a dictatorship. So, and everything is moving to a state of being decentralized. So again, the words that come are power to the people. So this hardcore power that may have been here is now going to be spreading out. So this has something to do with the grid. So it almost feels to me like there's major construction that's happening at an ethereal level of blue. And as the grid gets stronger and stronger and stronger, it's going to be able to pull some of the congested areas, pull it along, dissolve it along these grid lines. So how do you want to work with it? Well, you might want to go into meditation and meditate, do a little more research on Mongolia, do a little more research or meditate on owl medicine, on bear medicine, but also tune in. You can close your eyes, you can feel into, get a sense about this blue light grid that's being enhanced by the blue light codes. Whew, it's active. So I am told that it's going to be the next 50 years, this area of Mongolia is going to be highly, highly, highly palpable and active. So I can't wait to see what else happens. So again, thanks so much for tuning in to the Blue Light Hotspot of Mongolia. And I will see you on the next Blue Light Hotspot, which has not been revealed yet. But I love surprises anyway. So we'll see where the blue light beings guide us next time. All right, thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. And don't forget to subscribe. All right, take care. Bye-bye.